Shirts and skins and we back again. The best coverage in college sports, we come to win. With Brandon, Mark, and Matt, no one go hard as that. Share it with your folks and they'll learn where it all be at. It's just three of the guys, childhood friends that be setting the vibe with a few hot takes, jokes, and predictions. Love the Boise State, we now welcome you to listen. Shirts and skins, let's go.
Bronco Nation, what is up? Thank you for joining the Shirts and Skins podcast. I am Matt Lamb, joined today by Brandon Meinert, Mark Moss, and a very special guest. Huge guest. We're super pumped to have him here. Former Boise State quarterback, former Mountain West champion.
Fiesta Bowl champion.
I was getting there.
Sorry, I'm just excited about that one.
The guy that helped bring us our most recent Fiesta Bowl championship, 2014.
Wow.
Ouch.
Long time ago.
Grant Hedrick is here, folks. Thanks for joining us, Grant.
Thanks for having me, guys. Looking forward to it.
So, let's get caught up with what you're doing. You're in town. We got the spring game tomorrow. You're in town for that.
Yep.
What's been going on in the world of Grant Hedrick?
Yeah. Crazy world. So
I thought you were still a police officer.
Yeah, I was. Not anymore. So did that for about 6 years. So I got my undergrad in criminal justice at Boise State and had a little tryout with the Denver Broncos, went to BC Lions, and then, you know, it's like a guy like me, I'm just kind of an average guy, right? Like,
yeah.
I get one shot at this thing. And I could have maybe bounced around it to like arena stuff and all that, and I wanted to settle down and kind of start our family with my wife and
You got 2 kids, right?
2 kids, yep, 5 and 2. So our life is busy with that and married and doing all that. So I'm like, I'm gonna get a stable job. Let's do that, and I'm gonna use my degree. Like, why not? So get a job as an officer.
Are any of your family members in the police force?
No.
So this is the first
I was the black
generation.
sheep. I was the black sheep.
I read a little bit about this. Mm-hmm. An article said that Coach Pete had you guys do ride-alongs.
Yep.
Is that kind of what started it?
He would have all the red shirts do a ride-along, like, within the first few months that we were in Boise, to see, like, one, to build a connection, I think, with Boise PD, which is
my father-in-law is a former
good.
Boise
After the
police
Dinwiddie incident.
Probably a good thing, yeah. And then to see, like, here's the other side of the city. Like, Boise's an awesome city, but then here's, like, the other side of it where there's some stuff going on. Stay away from that. And that kind of sparked my interest, too, for sure. And so after I graduated, I was like, what am I going to do? And done playing football. I was kind of done and wanted to do something different. My dad's a teacher, coach. Mom's a teacher. My sister's a teacher. And so I'm like, I'm going to do something different. And really glad I did. Like, I got a lot of really good life experience from it. Something totally different, still part of a team. And, like, you know, you get your adrenaline up doing certain things and got to make decisions, all that stuff like that I love to do. And then we started having kids, and I was tired of working nights. I was tired of working Christmas. I didn't want to miss out.
Schedule's got to be rough,
yeah,
right?
There's a lot of stuff that goes with it. And the other thing, too, that probably the biggest determining factor for it was, one was family, but then the other thing is I always regretted how I went to school at Boise State. Like, I was a student athlete, right? And I went to class to pass my classes to be eligible to play football.
And your parents were teachers.
I was there, yeah. I was there to play football, but I didn't, like, my standard was different for football than it was being a student. And as I got older and we had our first kid in 2018, I'm like, that just is not sitting well with me. Like, I just had a lot of regrets about just doing the bare minimum, right? And it wasn't like I was a terrible student. It wasn't like I barely graduated. It's just I didn't like how I went about my business. So I'm like, I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to get my master's. So I went back. I got it in teaching and, you know, felt good about that, put a lot of effort into it, and felt like I didn't have any regrets then. And then was fortunate to get a teaching position, and have been doing that for this is my 3rd year. So high school, PE and health, coached some high school football. So it's like the best job ever, even if it's a pay cut from being a cop. Like, you get spring break, you get Christmas break, summer's off. Like, come on,
dude.
Get your football fix.
Your kids are gonna really. My wife's father, so my father-in-law was a teacher. He's retired now, And it was a big adjustment for Paige when all of a sudden we were students, got married, we were still students. And then like I go and get my first job and it's like, oh, you get 3 weeks paid vacation a year. And she's used to her dad being home all
3 months.
summer. You know what I mean? They like lived, and it was just like, so your kids are,
Yeah. I think it'll be better.
there's a lot of benefits to that, man, too.
It's kind of how I grew up.
Yeah.
With my dad, and I was just around all the time.
Yeah.
And like, it's just going from being a police officer, which very glad that I started doing that, to then go into teaching, because it just, the life experience, and it puts things in perspective. And it's like, you hear the complaints about teachers now in public schools, and I understand to a certain degree, but it's pretty nice. Like there's not a lot to complain about, really.
Is it Oregon City? That's where you're coaching?
So no, just got to a new school. So I'm at Cascade High School, which
So
is
you transferred with your dad,
Yep.
right? You moved over.
Oh, your dad. That's your dad's at.
Dad's the head coach.
Oh, nice.
Coaching with him.
Is that what it is?
So he's
That's awesome.
it's been
You guys
it's
didn't do
been
your
awesome.
homework? Come on.
Ah, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
he's
I didn't
on
know
it.
that.
He's on it. So really fortunate and like blessed just to like finish out my dad's
Yeah.
career with him, and we'll carpool all the time, and just it's awesome.
Looking back though, you talk about your regrets. I mean, the amount of work that football adds to your academic career. I mean, I think we can all understand why your focus was on football, right? I mean, I just think the guys that are going to school at college, they have to get up early, work out, go to class, do all their homework, go to practice, work out, do film study. And then just a normal college student, we just showed up to school. Like, we just didn't have all of the additional requirements that you guys had. And so I'm sure going and getting your master's was probably a breath of fresh air, and like just focusing on just your master's.
Oh, it totally was. Yeah, it was. And it was like, okay, I'm actually doing this for a purpose. I have kids now.
Yeah.
Like, it just, when you grow up, like, things change. Your mindset changes.
Yeah.
And when I was a college student, it was all about football. And I know I have to graduate.
Yeah.
How I get there, I don't know. Like,
Did you graduate in 4 years, or were you?
I was like a 4.5 year guy. So I redshirted.
Yeah.
And then I graduated in December of 14. So right before
Wait, was
the
that
Fiesta
the
Bowl.
Fiesta? Yeah.
Yep.
It took
Okay.
me like 7 years, so good job.
I had like 2
All
online
medical
classes my last term just
Nice.
to be eligible to play.
Oh.
It was pretty sweet.
That's how you do that.
It wasn't really going to school. It was, hop on the
football.
laptop for a couple hours a week, and
That would be preferred.
yeah.
That's a lot going on. Well, that's cool. Good for you.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thanks.
That's exciting. I know, I mean, that could be a stressful job with a young family being a police officer. So I'm sure there are some other additional factors, but that's exciting. And then Cascade High School,
Yep.
state champions here coming up.
We'll see. We'll see.
What was the record last year?
We were 7-4. We lost in the quarterfinals. So
And
first
so
year
you
there.
coached them this last year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That was our
Offensive
first
coordinator,
year.
or
Yep.
what are you?
Yep. Quarterbacks coach, and
Yeah.
just sprinkling in some statue left, and
No, don't. Did you?
some.
Did you? Please say you
No,
did.
we didn't do statue.
Oh.
No statue.
You got to save those for the special
Yeah.
times.
We
you
got
know?
we got some wrinkles in there from the Coach Pete and Brent Harsin era.
Do you still look back on that? Like, is that still a big part of your life? Maybe a dumb question, but do you look back on that time favorably as a really good time?
At Boise State?
Yeah, Boise State.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, like flying in and then driving around a little bit. It feels like a totally different lifetime.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been 10 years since the Fiesta Bowl, coming up on 10 years, and so it's like, it's crazy. And I look back and I think as I get older, that becomes more special to me.
Yeah.
At the time, it was like, this is what we do. This is what we're doing. Like, you're just so engulfed in everyday life that you don't have a chance to step back and realize, like, what we're doing is pretty sweet. And, like, that era of Boise State football from, the early 2000s going up until that last
14.
Fiesta Bowl, like, was pretty dang good.
Yeah.
And then to have, 10 years go by and they're still successful. But it's just,
Yeah.
it's a little different.
I think you guys were kind of caught up in the whole battle of your expectation was to go to the Fiesta Bowl and win it,
Yeah.
and so you guys accomplished that. And then as time went by, it was like, hey, maybe our expectation is just win the Mountain West, or it's changed so much, but you guys were just always up for your teams, Coach Pete teams. And then that first year of Harsin, it was like, get to the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah. Oh, it totally was.
And so
yeah, the
that's
standards and expectations were nothing less of that. And
Yeah.
and now I don't think the standards have lowered. It's just I think the landscape of college football has changed so much that it's becoming more challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Well, we talk about it quite a bit. And so, well, congratulations. So, couple things. Should we do basketball first?
Yeah. So we are going to dive more, and we've got a list of things we want to talk to Grant about with football, but there is some
Breaking
news we got to
news.
get to,
Yeah.
right?
Well, we
What's
know
up?
Grant from playing football at Boise State.
Yeah.
But you also played high school basketball, right?
Basketball,
Did
yeah.
you?
Follow the basketball team a little bit.
There you go.
There you
So
go.
He knows basketball. He's
Basketball guy.
qualified
Yeah.
to.
Okay.
I don't know about that, but talk about it.
So kick us off, Mark.
So I mean, since we tape, now we're going every other week, right? So there's been a lot of changes for the basketball team
Yeah.
in the last couple weeks,
Couple
right?
of
So
exits.
first couple exits, right?
We talked
we
about
talked
those.
about some of those.
Well, we didn't talk Whiting.
Not the yeah, we did.
we did
Jace-
talk Whiting?
Yeah.
Did we?
UNLV.
So yeah, we didn't talk. Yeah,
didn't say where he's
interesting,
going.
That's
right?
wild.
I think everyone
That is
just
wild.
assumed, and not to spend too much time on that, I think we all assumed, okay, he's leaving to get more playing time to maybe be a starter, be the point guard somewhere, and then he signs with UNLV. I don't know. Did they see something we're missing? Is this a Taylor Green situation,
Yeah.
or is he gonna just come off the bench? I don't know. We'll see. I'm fascinated. Seemed like a good guy. Good luck to him. But I think for us specifically, we signed Alvaro
Cardenas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then there was the big, hey, what's going to happen to Roddy? Are they going to push, what's going to go on with the starting point guard situation? And then the biggest news came out yesterday, and Chibuzo Abo is now in the transfer portal.
The Cardenas
So-
thing really surprised me because I liked Roddy Anderson a lot. I still do. I thought he had a ton of potential. And when you watch the games or when you watch the whole season, you saw him progress a decent amount. And then kind of midway through the season, he started getting a lot better. He was playing most of the guard minutes, and Jace wasn't getting a lot. And then that San Diego State game did incredible. And then even the Colorado game,
He was fine.
I mean, he was. I think that him and Buzo were the top scoring guys that game.
I think they were not happy that he played 38 minutes and had 0 assists.
Yeah.
But that was 21 missed layups. That wasn't just him, right?
In his defense, it was like he would pass it
Yeah.
and they would miss it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a tough one. But I don't know that he'll stay. Sadly,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And Grant, when you were playing, obviously the transfer portal wasn't a thing. People were transferring in and out. But how did you, basically, Boise State basketball basically recruited over Roddy and brought in another starting point guard, and they'll figure out. So as a player, I don't know if that happened to you necessarily, but what's the mindset of a player when that happens to them?
No, it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in my position too was unique in that aspect, and it relates a lot to this. It's like you're going to recruit a quarterback every year.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're going to get a pretty decent kid coming in. And every year it's like, this is the biggest recruit Boise
Wasn't
State
it
football's
Patty?
ever.
Wasn't it
Nick
Patty?
Patty was the
Yeah.
one that sticks out in my mind.
Yeah.
Big
You know?
Patty.
And
Because he
everyone.
went Elite 11 and he did all
Yeah.
that stuff from Florida.
Yeah. I mean, just a big time recruit.
People were excited. He had a buzz. There
There's
was
a lot of
buzz in the
hype
community.
around
Yeah.
guys like that. And so
Yeah.
same thing with this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be hard as a player, but fortunately for us, when we were going through, it was like that wasn't really an option to leave
Yeah.
unless you were a grad transfer or you wanted to sit out a year. So it's like you just made it work and you just tried to compete, which would be cool if people started to do that still. But it's a different world.
Yeah.
One of the questions that I had down for you was, so Kellen, you played with Kellen, right? Kellen, the GOAT, all that. He leaves. You're going into that next camp, you and Joe Southwick, right?
Yep.
Basically quarterback battle. Joe wins the battle, right?
Yep.
Did you think about transferring?
Not even for a second.
Okay.
Really?
And
Yep.
let's say that happened and the rules were such now.
Yeah.
A little more tempting, right? Or no?
I mean,
What do you think?
it depends. I think it's so situational that it would depend. I mean, for me, this is just me personally. Like I'm a committed person. So if I commit to a school and I sign at a school, unless honestly for me, if Pete would have left that year or if something changed with the coaching staff that was completely different, maybe that's a thought, right? But just because I lose a battle for the starting spot doesn't mean I'm going to transfer.
Yeah.
So
I'm
sorry.
No, go ahead.
If you're Maddox right now and they bring in Malachi Nelson and you're just battling, what are your thoughts? I mean, are you thinking, oh gosh, they're just going to keep recruiting over me and I'm going to have to keep at making this battle? I mean, what are your...
That was kind of like the spot I was in a little bit.
Yeah.
Did Nelson play at USC at all? A little bit.
I think a little. But
I think he had one pass attempt for a yard.
okay,
Yeah, he didn't really
Yeah,
play.
and I'm not like talking negative about that at all. But Maddox played last year, and had some success and did some good things.
Yeah.
He's got some
proven
game
he can-
experience, right? Like he can play. And then obviously the injury didn't help, but I mean for him, let's go compete. Like let's see what happens. Maybe you're the better option. I don't know.
Is that something that you get from your parents? That commitment, that loyalty, I guess, to stick with something you started.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I get that from my mom and dad. It's just everything you start, you got to finish, and that's how I grew up, and that's how I live my life. And I think I was talking to some guys last night. We were just hanging out, getting together again, and it's like, man, if kids would just stick it out like we did now, you're probably going to get a chance at some point with the amount of people transferring.
Yeah.
Like you just hold it down and like just keep working hard unless the coaches tell you got to get out. Like you're probably going to get a shot. You just don't know when that's going to be.
I think the hard part about basketball is, I mean, they're going to probably turn over.
Basketball's a little different, I think. Maybe.
20% of that roster every year,
Oh, at
because
least.
they have to replace key guys. I mean, they're going to have to replace Deggy after next year and have like an immediate impact if you want to stay relevant. You know?
Yeah. So yeah,
I think that's the tough part.
Back
Anyway.
to, I think it. Back to the Buzo thing, real quick. I don't think we want to close the book on that quite yet. It's just, I've heard some of the commentary and seen a few things here. I think we all agree. I think most people agree that the system is to blame. I don't think anyone is going to sit here and say, freaking Buzo, he's being disloyal. Like, why wouldn't he stay? Because the system is set up for him to be enticed to go somewhere else. So the rumor is that he has offers up in the $500,000 range, and sounds like USC is potentially one of those places. He's a Southern California kid, and on one hand you say, boy, he was a bench warmer at Texas Tech. He was averaging a point a game. Wanted to go, and I think that's where the transfer portal is kind of nice, right? Like, hey, I want to play more. So we picked him out from there, developed him for 2 or 3 years, got him to a place where he's potentially an NBA type player. I mean, 3-and-D type of guy, probably goes overseas. And his last year, when we're set to have another big year, he leaves. And you're like, man, that is disloyal. And on the other hand, you say he's getting offered $500K. Unless he plays in the NBA, which is probably a long shot, he's never going to have a chance to make $500K ever again in his life in 1 year. So who am I to say, don't do it?
Yeah.
The thing that bugs me the most is just that the tampering that happens. These kids, hey, someone wants to pay you money, go get your money. But the fact that it's against the rules for him to be contacted, and obviously it sounds like his dad or him or whoever reaches out and, I'm out of here. It's a tough system.
I don't know how
tough
you
spot.
turn down half.
I don't know how you do either. I don't blame him.
And if that's the amount of money that these nobody's safe. If that's the amount of money that they can put down on Buzo's like a proven player, but going to a different conference, going to a different team, I don't know how you compete against that. I mean, you could lose anybody at any time, and if this is the start, like if $500,000 is one of the first few years in, and especially if Buzo, if he pays if whatever team he goes to. If they make the tournament and they do well and he's a big impact and people are like, oh, why don't we just go to 600K or 800K or $1 million? I mean, there's markets in California and Texas and New York or whatever. What if St. John's wants to get back into it and they have a big, what if Cascade, Oregon starts getting into the battle and starts putting down a ton of money? It's like, I just don't know how you could, how much did Alvaro get by coming here?
I have no idea.
Did he get any money?
I don't know.
I didn't see anything on that.
I didn't see anything.
So
how much did Buzo have here? I think he was getting some free tacos at
tacos.
Taco Time, dude.
Del Taco had the Buzo.
The Buzo box
I mean,
or something.
and I don't blame any.
No.
Who's spending $500K for a basketball
great question.
player? What's the ROI on that? Really?
What's the ROI on Genty? Like the money that he got.
So for here,
what are they getting? Like, what are the people that gave Genty the money?
Here, you're talking about here. I don't know.
Do you just have to love your alma
You just
mater
have to
so
love
much
it.
that it's like,
I love that. Hopefully
Right?
that's
Yeah,
the case.
Yeah?
it is, right? Because all of these guys
Well, because there's no company. So he got $300K in a house and a whatever.
anonymously, essentially.
We don't know. He's not out there doing commercials. So
Yeah.
that company, whoever gave him money, isn't expecting him to pimp their gear or their company, right? They just want him to stay here.
My
is
concern
awesome.
my concern is this: like he goes and he gets injured. Is it
There's
contingent?
no refunds.
Like, is it contingent? Like, do they pay him out throughout the year? Or does he get paid?
I think they
All
signed some
lump
sort
sum?
of NIL contract,
Do
don't
they?
Some fine print. I don't know.
I don't know.
Grant, would you have left before your senior year for $500,000?
Oh, yeah.
That's hard to say. That's a tough
That's
question.
super hard to say.
Yeah.
That's super hard to say. I think my position where I was at, I had a different like upbringing.
Yeah.
Like I knew I was very fortunate. My parents were married like
Yeah.
throughout my entire childhood. We weren't rich by any means, but we were okay. If I was in a different situation, like we had guys on our team that absolutely they would take some money,
Yeah.
like and would have to do that for their family.
Yeah.
So I think every situation's different. It's hard for me to say whether I would do that or not. I'm going to say no because I'm committed to Boise State. But
Good answer.
All the coaches are loving you.
$500K is a lot.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot for anyone.
Well,
I'm
especially
40 years old. I'll take
and
500K.
what if the other details and say you get a lease to a car, you get an
Dude,
apartment.
Dalmas just got a car.
Yeah.
Did he?
Kicker got
Oh
hooked
yeah,
up.
they're getting cars.
Yeah.
We just can't keep up. There's no way we keep up with that. Our best player on the team right now is getting whatever $300,000.
Yeah.
How can't keep
how
up
do
with
we-
that.
Recruiting too.
There's
I
no
mean,
way.
with recruits. It's totally changed. Like you're not going to play for a program anymore. It's like who's going to offer me the most money?
How do you kind of mentioned it, right? How, moving it forward here, how does the Boise States in the world, in your opinion, how do we, I mean, I don't think we can ever expect, I hate to say this, but we were ranked in the top 5 like multiple years in a row. And those days, I'm sorry, are pretty much out the window. I think our expectation should be the top group of 5 team program a lot of years, be a top 25 program, which we have not been for 4 years. Avalos, 0 weeks ranked. So I think our goal has to be getting back to ranked and relevance and whatnot. But in this era, like, what is it that Boise State can sell if it's not buco bucks with the NIL?
Yeah, it's got to be. You got to be the top group of 5.
You got to win, right?
You got to win. You have to. You got to win those games that they historically have done well in. You know, when they go to Eugene in the fall, you got to find a way to win that one. You know, that's tough. You know, those opening games and then the bowl game, when you got some weeks to prepare,
Yeah.
Boise State historically has been really good. You got to get back to that and just be, you know, relevant in that group. But
Because
I
doesn't
think-
I hear a lot of like the family and the culture and whatever. And I live here. We went to Boise State, so like I'm eating that up, right? But doesn't every school say that? Doesn't every school say we're a family and we've got great culture? Or is there truly something special about Boise State? I know
yeah.
you went there too, so
yeah, the word culture, I think it's thrown out all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it's overused, and I don't think people understand what it really is, especially to Boise State. And I don't know. I haven't been in the building for 10 years, right?
Okay.
I don't know what it's been like. I would imagine it's very similar or close to what it was like with the Dan Hawkins, the Chris Peterson, and Hars, and all those guys that kind of built this place up. But I still feel that it's different. I think that there needs to be some changes happening in terms of like, I don't know if you're going to stay in the Mountain West and be able to be nationally relevant. Like I think the conference thing needs to, and for everybody it's a mess, but I think Boise State needs to find a way to get into a bigger conference. They may have missed the boat a little bit.
we've talked about that. And
Yeah, that
I
sucks.
think that would help for sure. I think that would
Yeah.
help being a bigger conference.
Yeah.
And you're going to get some bigger recruits and some money might be there and all those things. But, you know, I think for now, like, be the best where you're at.
Right.
And you don't
I
have
mean-
a choice. Like, let's go win the Mountain West. Let's go be nationally relevant. Let's go win our games. And hopefully the rest takes care of itself.
Going back to recruiting, you hear some stuff about kids like asking for money to even go visit. Is that, I mean, you're a high school coach.
Yeah.
Is that something you hear about? Or, I mean, what do you see
sure.
as the...
No, it's crazy. I mean, I have buddies on the staff at Boise State still, and they tell me like their recruiting area, if it's like in the South, like, yeah, I won't even talk to you guys without $100K. Like $100K, or I'm not really interested at all.
Oh,
yeah.
So
wow.
that's a real thing, and it's insane.
That is insane.
Did that happen before?
Not up here.
or not
for
as
me.
often.
Definitely not for me. Yeah. We couldn't even have cream cheese on our bagels.
Get out.
Because
That's
it
a
was
joke.
It was an extra benefit. It was considered an extra benefit.
Oh man!
You got to get your own cream cheese. No M&Ms in the trail mix.
No way.
Yep.
That's a lie.
Swear, that was a thing. It's crazy.
Oh man!
You
You
guys,
guys were
if somebody
screwed.
paid for your dinner, like if
You
you're in a
guys were
restaurant,
screwed.
like you're at the Ram across the street, and someone pays for your dinner, like there's whoever,
Yeah.
you had to pay your bill through a tip for the
Oh,
waitress.
you had to
So
spend it.
otherwise you're gonna get jammed up. And now it's just
you guys got
What?
to. I'll bet you guys sit around and are
M&M's,
like,
dude, is
It's fun to
hilarious.
talk
these young
It's
guys,
fun
what
to talk
they
about now. You
get.
just feel like
Hold
such
on.
an old guy.
Oh,
Is it
man.
trail mix without M&Ms?
No,
I don't know if you
way.
can
I
call
don't
it trail mix.
It's-
That's what makes
It's
M&M's
nuts.
or trail mix so good.
Yeah.
Take the raisins out.
Oh,
Yeah, take the raisins out.
Dude, I would love that. I would love that. Like Grant gets penalized because he had too many raisins, or like peanut butter M&Ms were put in there.
Provided me peanut butter.
What
You
else
got-
was there?
Oh man,
Cream cheese.
Cream cheese was one. I know
Those were
that was like the
specific.
joke. That was like a big joke, and guys would have cream cheese like in their locker for the bagels. Well, when I first
you
got
got
there, we were
stuff.
talking about that last night too, like how much like the meals had changed, because before
Yeah.
my first year, it was like everyone ate at the student union building
Yeah.
for their meals, right?
Which
And
was junk, by the way. The student union
not
building
awesome.
back then
Yeah,
was
not
not
awesome.
great.
Yeah,
Was there some good stuff though?
It was
I'm
not
not gonna
good. It was
bad.
the
They
same
tried
every
hard.
time.
They
It was
tried
the
They
same.
tried. Okay.
I'm just saying, the student union building, when we all
Brandon's
went to college.
kind of a food
Dude,
snob,
I'm just
though.
saying.
So
It was
for
the
what it's
same
worth.
meal every day.
it was. It was. But
But
for
it, you
us,
know.
it was like it was free food, essentially free, not
Yeah.
no such thing as a free lunch, but we didn't have to pay for it.
But
out
it
of
was
our pocket.
prepared
It
by
was-
them. It wasn't like the
Yeah, it's
Chick-fil-A
like-
down there or
Right.
whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was that. That was it. Like we had a team meal not very often. And then as it progressed, we started getting like bagels and trail mix and some stuff in the locker room, but no cream cheese for that and no M&Ms in the trail mix. So you had to bring your own cream cheese. And then when Hars came in, my senior year, we had breakfast, lunch. I think we had at least 2 or 3 meals every day up in the skybox, like
Oh,
prepared for us.
okay.
M&Ms?
Oh, really?
And that was like
No,
a big
not
deal.
M&Ms.
We had everything.
Oh.
It was a big deal.
Oh,
It was
Hars?
a huge deal.
It's a
Hars
new-
brought it in. It was like, this is
Hars.
awesome.
Living the high life.
But the walk-ons had to pay for it or something. There was like, so it's still weird.
Do they still do that?
And
I
now
don't
what's
know.
it like? Well, I mean, what's
I'm
it
not
like
sure
over
what it's
there?
like now. Yeah.
They're gonna have a part of the North End Zone project is they're gonna have like a student athlete only, like dining hall or something down underneath there. Should be pretty nice. So,
Complimentary.
but they got, I mean, protein shakes, everything, anything they want all the
The
time.
thing
right?
that
I mean, it's
the
just-
thing that worries me as a fan, okay, and you have young kids, and your experience is so special, and let's say we are going through another season like your senior year, which was, by the way, awesome. That senior year was awesome, and not to talk about it too much, but the Air Force game was a low.
Let's
was
talk about
tough.
it. Let's
Let's
talk
bring
about
that up.
We can talk about it.
That
It's
was
fine.
a tough game.
It was
but
a
what
hurdle
was-
they got over.
But what was amazing is
We should talk about that game, actually.
we should, because what was amazing was you guys rallied. Everybody rallied. You beat Colorado State. You beat a bunch of teams. You went, and then you were like progressively getting better every game. Like it seemed like more confidence, more runs. I mean, you basically didn't have an incomplete pass the whole Fiesta. Like that was,
Dude,
that was the best.
Yeah.
And then we win that game. It goes to the recruiting thing, and then Sanford leaves, and then there's some coaching changes, and then anyway, that got away from me.
Reel it in.
Reel it in. What worries me is my oldest son is 13, and then my youngest son is 7, and they love Boise State, right? And I actually just told my second child, who I take to the basketball games, that Buzo left.
Did he cry?
He was like, "Oh man, that's like my favorite player."
Yeah.
And and he has Kobe Young jersey, and Kobe Young left.
Does
and
it say young on the back?
It does. It's the number 1. And he's like, why did he leave? And for Buzo, it's like, hey, we couldn't afford him.
Yeah.
We can't afford him. And so showing up to a season with your kids, you're paying $400 or $500 just for nosebleed seats. That's fine. Okay. And then you're walking in with your kids who have jerseys on, and they're like, oh, I can't wait to see this player. You're like, oh, he's not there anymore.
He's gone.
Yeah.
He's gone. And they're like, why is he gone? I don't understand why he's gone. He's like, he's part of the team. You're like, he's just, he's playing for another team now. And so part of me just wishes we could get back to playing football for fun. And it's a business, and you make a ton of money. Obviously, Buzo or a Genti, I mean, that's a huge amount of money. That's not going away. But part of me misses the nostalgia of like not having to worry about it, you know, like being strict on M&Ms and not having to like, as a fan, worry so much about you get invested in these programs or in a season or in a team or in a player, and then just to have it all mixed up the next year, it's a worry of mine.
It could all be fixed if they just, and it's too late now.
Here we
If
go.
they went
Mark's
back,
going to fix it.
To what?
Here we
if
go.
they said you have to sit out a year, if they were a hard line,
But should they? I mean,
I'm just
should you
saying
have to?
that would fix half of the
'Cause
transfers
the
at
whole,
least.
The whole debate was, hey, Peterson left mid-year. Well, Peterson recruited Grant. And now Grant's like, okay, the new guy's bringing in his coach, his program. I don't really work in that. And so it stiffs the players. They're in a tough spot. So they say, well, these coaches are jumping around. So the players should be able to jump around. And I get that. I mean, the arguments for and against on both sides,
I see 'em.
totally get them, which makes it hard. But anyway, that's kind of my worry.
Yeah. It's like professional sports is what it's turned into a little
Yeah.
bit. Like a semi-pro.
Do you wish it would go that way? Do you wish it would just go semi-pro and just like
I don't. I think there's something special about college football and like playing for your school, and
for a short amount of time,
Yep.
right?
I like that.
Yeah.
it's got to change from what it is now,
But that's
though,
why
right?
people love college sports more than
Yeah.
professional
Yeah.
at times, right? I think
Yeah.
it's so different and it's so cool that I don't think people want to see it go that way. At least I don't.
yeah.
I don't know how it doesn't, you know, like if Alabama has, you know, how many guys are they recruiting? They're paying $100,000 to every time. And let's say they don't get them. I mean, it doesn't matter to them, I guess. Right. Anyway.
Can we talk about the Air Force game?
Dude,
Sure.
let's talk about
I'd
it.
love to do. Yeah. Good memories.
That was Spurbeck played in that game, right?
Yeah,
think he
that
came
was
in
kinda
the-
his
Is that his
game
coming out
'cause
party?
Yeah.
Matt Miller ended up getting hurt like for good that game and was out. That was the game he ended it. So
So we
you
were
wanna
trying
talk
to make
about?
a comeback late,
yeah,
as I remember. Well, maybe you could bring us to
I
your
wasn't.
career.
I was on the sideline at the end of that one.
Were you? They pulled you.
Yep. Ryan Finley.
Oh, Finley.
Yeah.
Dude, there was a bunch of really good players
Who was
like
good.
that.
Who ended up really good, like as a good player.
Yeah.
Yeah. Transfer guy too.
So I remember after that game, we could talk about the game, but after that game, Harsin came out and said, Grant's our guy.
Yeah.
Did that mean a lot to you? I mean,
It did, but you don't know the truth is, okay, so going to that game, and it's just from warm-ups, like, it's just one of those, if you've played sports, you just know it's like, it's not my day.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, nothing's wrong, but I just can't complete a ball, or I'm just turning it over. I can't make a shot. I can't hit a baseball. Like, it's just one of those days.
Yeah.
It was from warm-ups. Like, I knew, like, it was not going to be good. And
Were
then-
you nervous? Were you like
no, nothing different. But just during warmups, it was just weird. It was just something was off. And then they got a little momentum. They had some energy, and even Jay fumbled a couple times too.
Yeah.
So you could always lean on Mr. Ajayi back there to like hopefully carry the load a little bit, and he was struggling that game. So things were just off. So we ended up losing that game. I'm on the sideline for most of the second half. I think they put Finley in. And, you know, trying to be supportive as a teammate and you know, all that, which is hard. And then I remember after the game in the locker room, I went up to Ryan because we were close.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, man, like, whatever happens next week, like, make sure this does not interfere with, like, our friendship because it's not that big a deal. It's a game, right? Like, let's not hate each other, whoever wins this job next week. So then we get into the office Sunday for meetings, and Harsh brings me into his office with Mike Sanford and sit me down, and they're like, hey, man, like, you got to stop turning it over. Like, if we're going to give you the reins, but if you continue to do this, we got to go a different direction. Yeah. And that was pretty much the conversation. Like, don't stop doing this.
Because going back to because you guys played Old Miss
Yep.
at the.
There's another one.
And there was some turnovers.
There's
in that
another
one
one.
too.
It was
yeah.
another 4-pick game.
Oh.
So I think we were down 7-6, like going into the fourth quarter
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
It was a
and
close
they got
game.
away.
And I kept turning it over. Same thing. Like, that's what lost us the game. So very similar to that. But looking back, and I kind of knew it too, like, you look at that quarterback room, like, yes, he gave me the job back. We had Ryan Finley, who's a redshirt freshman, who was coming off like a shoulder. He wasn't 100% healthy. Mm-hmm. He ended up being a really good player, played in the NFL, like NC State, awesome. The next oldest was Tommy Stewart, who's a redshirt sophomore, came
Tommy
from
football.
JC, Tommy football.
Right.
I remember him.
We had Alex Ogle, true freshman from Florida, who transferred out. We had a couple other walk-on guys. Richard Hoppy was a walk-on. Like, I'm the oldest by like 3 years. With any experience at all. Like, they had no choice. Like, they had to ride me out and like, let's make sure this works. Like, if Nick Patty would have stayed, he might have had the job, right? Like,
to your point, stay around for a little bit.
Yeah, stay around.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, especially in that position, you're one play away, literally. And I experienced that too when Joe got hurt. It was the first play of the Nevada game, breaks his ankle, and I'm in. Yeah. You were literally one play away. And so, but I think if they had other options that year, they might have went that way. So I was fortunate that the QB room was very young and inexperienced, that they just continued to see how this goes.
What changed? Like, did anything change?
Yeah, my mindset.
Yeah.
So I think getting to play with Kellen was awesome. Learning from him, watching how he did his day-to-day preparation for the season and off-season helped me tremendously. How he just carried himself, like, just what an awesome like guy to look up to, right? And to follow. Except you got to follow it. Mm-hmm. And if you look at trying to follow and fill his shoes, you're not going to do it. Like, those shoes just continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger, right? It's almost impossible. So I was putting too much pressure on myself to be a Kellen Moore, when in reality, it's like, look, there's a lot of good players on this team. Like, I can go just get them the ball, hand it to Jai. Like, I don't have to do this all by myself. And basically came up with the attitude. Like, I remember saying to myself, like, at practice, like, the word starts with an F, ends with duck. Or rhymes with duck, F it. Like, that's my mentality, F it. Like, I don't care. I have nothing to lose. Let's just go let it rip. And that's kind of what I did. Fortunately, it worked.
Was the word fire truck?
Close. It was close. It was close.
Well, dude, a lot of stuff came together there because Spurbeck came on. He had a good Fiesta Bowl game, I remember.
Really good.
Ajayi kept doing really well. I'm trying to think who our tight end was.
Yeah, we had Alec Danins, Jake Rowe.
Yeah. Oh, some good guys.
Some good tight ends. That was a good team. Okay,
Yeah.
some guys.
Kamalei Correa ended up going really well.
Defense was good. Tanner
Vallejo.
Darian Thompson, Dante Dion.
Yeah, a
Shane
bunch of
Williams.
NFL guys.
So,
Wow,
I mean,
that's true.
It was a pretty good group.
team. Yeah, I mean, we talked about your two lowest points, right, of that senior year. But ultimately, you had an awesome senior year. I mean, you led, so Grant, 70.8, is that what we found? You led the nation in completion percentage, right?
Which we've never gotten back to 70.
Not
That we
even
always talk
close.
about that as quarterbacks. Like, you have to have 70%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You
I think
and
so.
you
I
nailed
think-
it.
I think that's a really important stat for a quarterback is completions, because you're moving the ball down the field.
Yeah.
I think what I've noticed watching football as of late is third downs is a huge telltale of who's going to win the game, like third down conversions. And in order to convert a third down, you got to be productive in first and second down, right?
Okay.
So, like, not a 3rd and 15, not a 3rd and 10. Stay out of those. Go ahead. Yeah, you got
Did
something.
you watch last year?
I did.
What did you think?
Yeah.
What did you think? I mean, when you were watching, what were
Be
your...
honest now. Those that made the decisions are gone. So
Because
We're not
because
trying to incriminate you, but
What
No.
do you, like, narrow
well,
it down a little
so
bit?
they would have. I
the
mean,
QB
it was this,
situation.
Yeah,
the
it was
two-
like you bring in Mad Dog on 3rd and 10.
Yeah.
And it's a tough spot to be in. You're not in a
Terrible
rhythm.
spot.
You don't know the defense.
Terrible spot.
It's just, what were your thoughts?
I felt bad. For
Yeah.
him. I think it was a bad situation, to be honest. I think it's hard to be a quarterback or any player where you have to have like repetition and see things. If you can't get in that rhythm, it's really hard to be successful. I mean, I got thrown in. We were in Southern Miss. Joe's helmet comes off my junior year. His helmet comes off, so he's got to come out for a play, and it's 3rd and 11. So I go in, been standing on the sideline for an hour and a half.
They're like,
You
throw
know, Yeah, let's throw 4 verts, try to get this first down, and I sail it over the receiver's head. Like,
Yeah.
it just doesn't work.
So, what do you, I know? We understand you weren't in the room. I don't know if you're talking to anybody at all last year, but like everyone is talking. Like, what are they doing?
I
Whatever.
didn't
Like,
mind it.
Brandon liked
didn't mind
it for
it.
some odd
the
reason.
two
But
QB system.
what do you make?
For a
I mean,
while.
it wasn't fair to Talon. It wasn't fair to Mad Dog. Like, what was it? Was it honestly just like looking at the stats and saying, well, Mad Dog's better on 3rd and long situations, so we're just going to put him in for that, and then it just rolled from there? I mean, what was the decision making there?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I know there's a lot.
he's like, I didn't make that call.
I know, but
there's
it's just
a lot
so,
that goes in that building, like behind the scenes, that even now, like, I'm basically a fan, like, that I don't know.
Yeah.
So there's some things there that we probably just don't know. I don't like a T quarterback system just because it's hard, like I said, to get in a rhythm or to do anything productive. I like having small packages, like, let's keep this guy around. Like, I was able to do that. Mike Coughlin, when Kellen was
Yeah.
a quarterback,
Yeah, that's true.
they'd throw him in. You throw him in for a zone read or something, just to have like 4 or 5 plays to keep them interested in the game plan. That wasn't really the case last year. That was like a true 2 quarterback system, and kind of hard to.
Do you think
out.
a 2 QB system is a sign of just trying to be too nice and not
Man, I don't know.
Well, if you're,
make a decision?
to his point, because you have to re-recruit your guys every year.
Yeah, like, hey,
You're recruiting mid-season to a guy that's on the, the roster.
So weird. That was
If he's
that
not-
is going to go down. And then now we've seen. I don't know how much you've seen, but like Taylon Green already won the job at Arkansas.
SEC
And he-
starting quarterback,
And he had like a great. that's happened since last time.
Oh, spring game.
He had like 3 TDs.
Yeah.
Like I saw like some national reporters like tweeting out like, what are the odds for Taylon Green's Heisman and stuff
Dude,
like
if
that?
he did a Heisman,
Seriously,
could you
And it's
imagine?
like,
Like,
we
that'd be
we benched
wild.
him. What are we? It's so insane. Like
roll the Memphis footage.
tell me. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
really.
it's so crazy
Yeah.
because we saw like the crazy athleticism and the amazing things he did on the highlight reels, and then we saw every down they played.
Yeah.
We also saw the 6-yard slant that sails. It's like crazy. But I don't know. I tend to think that it was basically Bush trying to fit Taylon Green into a mold that maybe he wasn't most comfortable in, whereas maybe in Arkansas they're going to play to his strengths and do
The thing-
one read and go. Am I oversimplifying?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Seems odd, though.
It is odd.
The whole thing was
It's
crazy.
Really weird. Yeah, really weird.
I just wonder because we weren't out of the Mountain West Championship race until we lost that Fresno game. Once we lost Fresno, Taylon was kind of out of it. He was no longer the starter. Mad Dog was a starter, so it's like,
And then we were back in.
and then we're back in.
Yeah.
We're at
That was
Anyway,
bizarre.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mad Dog,
Do you guys mind if I go turn the heat down a little bit?
I don't care, whatever you want to do. Speaking of Mad Dog, I feel like Mad Dog has had a lot of comparisons to you in the media here. I don't know if you've heard that. And I think probably just for stature purposes, like you guys are both shorter
How
quarterbacks.
tall are you? What were you listed at?
6 foot.
6 foot?
Which means like 5'11".
You're probably 5'11". He's not 5'11", though. I mean, he's shorter than you, I think. What have you seen from Mad Dog? Is it a fair comparison? Do you like him? Do you think he's going to be, I don't know. I know you're not in there, but what have you seen from him? What do you think?
What I've seen, I like. I think he's good. I think he's a good competitor, and seems like he can do a little bit of everything. And I like his stature. I mean, he's a little shorter like me, so
Good things
that
come
way.
in
Good
smaller
stature.
packages,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
He's tough too. I mean,
Yeah.
you ran for like 500 yards your senior year, right? I mean, you ran for more than Taylon Green did last year. Did you guys know that?
You had a couple really long, and I bet you Taylon when he broke that Mountain West long run, probably broke Grant's like quarterback
Maybe.
run.
He was a little different
Yeah.
athlete than I was.
Oh, yeah.
He's like an elite level.
yeah.
but
like,
you had
runner.
a couple like 70-yard runs.
Yeah, just I don't know, lucky.
You had, so I think it was your senior year, Colorado State game, you had 6. You were responsible for 6 touchdowns. Is that right? Didn't you have 2 games that you were responsible for? Because I know there's the New Mexico game. I was watching highlights. You were at
The
New
New
Mexico.
Mexico game was like a basketball
I didn't remember
score.
that. Yeah, it was like 57 to 51 or something.
Like we couldn't stop them and they couldn't stop us.
Yeah.
That was crazy. I remember that one.
but that
Colorado
was 6
State
touchdowns
Yeah,
for you.
yeah. There's
Running
some
and
good games.
throwing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you have any games that are your favorite?
I mean, obviously the Fiesta Bowl was amazing. Probably
The beat down at BYU here.
love that.
That was awesome.
Oh, dude, we were at the BYU game.
Love that.
When you came in, I think it was right after you started. That was your first start.
Yeah, that wasn't as good
That was
as
a
the
tough
next
game.
year.
Yeah.
The one here where you guys were
One
wearing the
here
gray
was good.
and they put up like 50 something on.
Yeah,
them.
that was nice because I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
Was that
Yeah.
the one where they
Yeah.
ran the fake punt? Was that the fake punt on like the 2-yard line one?
No,
that one wasn't
That
it.
wasn't it. All
Wasn't
right.
it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So hold on. You're not a big fan. Why
Not
aren't you a big fan?
Not a fan of BYU.
The crotch shots or what was it? That,
the
punching.
Just
I mean, is that it? Yeah. None of
have-
us went to BYU.
I did.
Oh,
2
wait, you
years.
did?
Oh, yeah, you did too.
Okay. But I'm
But I
not
know-
a big fan.
Here's the thing, Grant. On game day, I wore my Boise
He was a
State shirt.
BSU guy even there.
I
yeah.
didn't
good,
own a
then.
BYU
That's good.
shirt.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
The only BYU shirt I had, I won in intramural football.
Oh yeah.
Was that what were the teams as a team, as a group that you guys really despise? BYU, was it Fresno? Was it kind of the usual suspects?
BYU, Fresno.
Nevada?
BYU was a big one.
Why? Just the way they played.
Yeah, just kind of dirty. And I'm sure people say that about Boise State too, right? But like the amount of trash talking
Really?
was insane compared to other teams.
Really?
Yeah,
Kinda
crazy.
Vanilla
Pent
trash
up.
talking, or is there?
Pent up
It wasn't
aggression
vanilla.
or
Like, it
what?
was like,
Huh?
Hey,
I'm sure you can do that.
You shouldn't be saying that.
Yeah, shouldn't do that. Not a big fan of BYU. Fresno was another one. Nevada, San Diego State. I mean, really,
The main
the
ones.
main ones. Yeah.
It is too
in your
bad,
house
though.
right now. Do you guys root for Boise State? I mean,
Yeah.
is that
Oh yeah.
who did you root for growing up?
Growing up, my grandparents had season tickets to the Ducks, so went to a lot of Oregon games and watched that. And, but then obviously I was, 2006. I was an eighth grade or a freshman when Boise State won the Fiesta Bowl against Oklahoma, and that was like, oh my gosh, this is a cool place.
Yeah.
That's kind of what put them on the map, I think, for me. But yeah,
Was that your recruitment? I mean, what was your recruitment like?
not much. I mean, I wasn't like. I mean, you guys saw me walk in the door. Like, you're gonna offer me a scholarship to play Division I football?
Our employees were like, "You have a customer here." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's
What do you
a
need?"
quarterback."
Here to buy insurance.
Like, no,
you're on the podcast. Like, were you the equipment manager? Like,
Yeah, no, I was like, "That's the quarterback from the Fiesta Bowl." They're like, "What? Are you
Really?
sure?"
Yeah.
Like, oh,
which I love. I can just blend right in.
Yeah.
That was the nice thing.
You were the John Stockton of like
Just
the
blend
BSU
right
team.
in. Blend right in. I know. I was fortunate.
But you got a scholarship, right? You weren't a
Yep.
walk on.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So recruitment was cool. I went to a camp out here. I was Justin Wilcox was the defensive coordinator, and he was in Oregon, drove up to the high school and met with him, and then said, hey, there's this camp coming up for high school kids. You should come to it. Go to the camp, and we're kind of walking around campus and go into the stadium, find our way in there, and we see this guy like speed racing on his golf cart down when the field had a track around it. And he's just 100 miles an hour, like talking and doing all this stuff. Pulls up and says, hey, can I help you guys out? And like, yeah, we're just looking to like register for the camp. He's like, oh yeah, hop in, like get on the golf cart. Let's drive. I'll set you guys up. So we're driving. Well, it's Chris Peterson who's driving the golf cart, and just like an awesome, you would never know, just the way he carried himself. Like, he's just a good person. And so did well at the camp, I think. And then they saw some game film, and I remember Harsh calling me. I was at a summer basketball tournament, got done with playing a game, and my mom's like, hey, you need to call. They just called your dad. And so called, can't remember if I talked to Harson or Coach Pete first. Talked to them both, and they offered me, and they're like, we kind of need you to like make a decision here in the next few days of what you want to do, because we have some guys lined up. And I remember going to the camp and talking to my dad. I'm like, I like this place a lot. Like, if they offer, let's do it. So for me, that was it. Called them that afternoon or the next day and was like, I'm in. So I think I had ironically an Air Force offer in Portland State. So not a ton of recruitment.
You've been good at Air Force.
Yeah. I just didn't know if I wanted to do I didn't know if I wanted to do the military thing. Yeah. I think that was kind of my
tough.
Yeah. But like my style of play, I think would have fit okay.
Yeah.
We'll triple option. And
So what was it about Pete? I mean, you coach, or you have played under how many coaches, right? I mean, here he's beloved, right? I mean, he's the best coach we could ever imagine. He's, whatever. Can't say enough. But as a player, what made him maybe different than anyone else?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, like we talked about culture a little bit ago, right? And that word is overused a ton. For him, like, he totally walked the walk. I mean, he would talk about how to be a good person, how to be a successful student, how to be great in business, whatever you want to do in life. And then second was football. Like, how do we translate that attitude and mentality to being a good football player? And so he was able to really put those things into perspective for us as 18 to 22, 23-year-olds. But he walked the walk, like the way he carried himself. I remember every day, like, he was so consistent with what he did. I think that's what made him really good. Every day at lunch, he'd go for a jog. He'd come back and shower up and change into his business attire for our team meeting, and then change into his clothes for practice. I mean, it was just like clockwork for him. And he got the best out of his players. And he wasn't a big yeller or screamer. Guys liked to play for him, and just, I don't know, there's just something about him that just, it made you relate to him more because he was just a good person. Yeah. And you knew that he was looking out for your best interests in everything. And football's like second to that.
You could tell he was disappointed without yelling at you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, totally, 100%.
Yeah. I think what helps is that they were winning so much that all the guys had saw that it was working. I'm sure
winning fixes a lot of problems. Yeah, winning solves a lot of issues for sure.
That his last year, so that ended in his last year here. I think you guys went 8-5, and that was the year you played the second half of the year, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Looking back, and there was interviews, and was there any indication as a player that something was going on with him? Like he was looking to leave, he was kind of done, he'd done it all here. I mean, because kind of interviews afterwards, it kind of felt like he was like, I'd done all I kind of could do there, needed a new challenge or whatever. But did you feel anything different that year than maybe the couple years previous?
I didn't.
No,
and that's why it was such a shock, because I think even the year prior, a couple years, there was always like some rumors about USC or
Stanford,
some other jobs coming open that he would be a good candidate for, and we were always kind of like, oh man, hopefully he doesn't leave.
Yeah.
And then this UW thing came up, and we're thinking the same thing, like he's not going to leave. Like, why would he go to Washington? Like, we got things, they're okay here. Yeah. And then he decided to leave. I remember we see, it was kind of before the social media craze that it is now. Like, we had some social media, it wasn't big. We started seeing things pop up about Chris Peterson maybe going to Washington, but we weren't really believing it. We walk into the locker room before a team meeting, and he goes around to every junior that's going to be a senior and gives them a hug. Didn't say anything, just gives us hugs, and we're like, no, it's over.
That's different. Yeah.
It's over. So
what was that like? Yeah, tell us more about that. I mean, he
was
you
awful.
Get a team.
It was terrible.
Tell us.
No, it was
what
terrible.
happened, man. So this is after the last game,
After
before the
game.
bowl game.
Yep.
But leading up to it, I remember there was a lot of frustration as a fan base.
Well, it was a tough year. Was that the Robert Prince year?
But I think, but then they so we had Pease, and then we had Prince, and then Southwick came in with Prince, and it was just a struggle, and the offense changed, and it was not really doing much. It was just an odd, and there's such a big change when Kellen leaves.
Yep.
Anyway.
But when he announced and whatever.
A lot of frustrations. And then, we have the meeting, he announces it, and it's like, great, now what?
Yeah.
And then there's some names getting thrown out that we're optimistic that we're going to get somebody. And that's kind of unique about Boise State is, whether you like it or not, like the fraternity of coaches or players that come back and coach. Like there was some familiarity with some of the names, which we were happy about. And then, the bowl game was a mess. That whole month of December was a mess with him leaving, the Hawaii deal, getting blown out by Oregon State. I mean, that was a great vacation for us. I mean, that's about it.
Is that why
did
it was
feel like a vacation, or was it?
We tried to enjoy it as much as we could. I mean, we're in Hawaii. We didn't have a coach. We knew pretty much the whole staff was leaving.
Yeah.
Did the staff care? Who was it? Was it
Gregory?
Bob Greger was the interim.
Poor Gregory. He
couldn't keep it together.
Yeah. Let's just get through it without any issues. And
that didn't quite happen either. But we can move on.
Past the first day. I don't think.
Wasn't Pat or somebody came home? Was it anyway?
Yeah. So
anyway,
that was a tough.
So then Harsin comes
finish.
in, though, right? And interesting. Again, you're probably still. Harsin is an interesting figure because he's the guy that followed the legend, and that's super tough, right? Super, super tough. First year he goes out, you guys win the Fiesta Bowl, right? Things are going awesome, but there. In this fan base, in this town, he's a little bit divided. There's this divided, right? And there's, I think you rubbed some people the wrong way or whatever. How was, and I'm not going to ask you to, but how was it playing under him? Did you enjoy that situation? How was it playing for Harsin?
Yeah, I loved him.
Good.
So he recruited me out of high school.
Okay.
He was the OC quarterbacks coach my redshirt year. And then he went to Texas after that my first season. And so when he came back, I was excited because my first year was miserable. Like, you're a brand new player, new system. You got to follow Kellen Moore. Like, this is the standard, right? And I couldn't even know my right from my left at that point, right? So I'm struggling. And that first year, just being in college, away from home, playing football, it was hard.
What year was that?
2010. Yep.
So it was a good team.
Good team.
There's a couple
Top
good
5
teams that
team.
you, yeah.
Yep.
Was that were you on the Nevada loss? Were you on that team?
That was that year.
Oh,
That was that year. Yep. That was that year. So that was
I want to
a
get
big-
back to that, but I want to hear more about
It was
Harson.
a red shirt. Yeah.
You didn't
so I
travel to that
travel
one.
to that one. I was
Okay.
home watching it. It was
Oh.
Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh yeah, I remember. We all remember.
Yeah, we all remember it.
God.
So that was a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
So I had familiarity with him, and then when he got hired, it was actually before the bowl game. I got
Yeah.
a chance to talk to him on the phone, and I was excited because just I knew him, and he's part of the reason I was there, you know. And so for me to finish my career out with someone that got me there was exciting for me. And you know, I was talking to the guys last night about Hars, and everyone's got mixed feelings a little bit.
Why is that? Why do you think that
I
is?
think
He won at a pretty darn. It wasn't the Pete clip, but it was pretty darn good. Is it just his? He's a little bit more maybe a little bit abrasive. Why do you think people have?
Maybe I think he's his expectations are so high.
Yeah.
And I think he just wants to get the best out of his players. He's the most detailed coach I've ever seen in my entire life.
Really?
In terms of
Over
like
Pete.
organization. Well, he may have got it from Pete.
Yeah.
I didn't see like Pete was overseeing everything, right? But in a meeting room and how Hars ran his meetings and how he came up with the game plan and dissected things, like he was really good. And that's how he lived everything throughout the day. So it was like he's looking good, he's dressed up, like his pens are
Pumping iron.
all like lined up on
He's
his
ripped,
desk.
dude.
Like, he was lifting hard, doing curls in the weight room. But I got along with him really well.
Yeah.
And I think others just didn't like the mentality of what he brought for some reason. But I enjoyed it a lot.
Do you still somewhat stay in contact with him?
I do. I actually saw him last summer and
did you?
had a chat with him.
So
yeah.
we've talked about like when Avalos got let go and stuff. I mean, there's conversations. Like I have no idea if he would be interested or the school is interested or whatever. But do you see him? I know he made a ton of money to leave Auburn, but do you think he wants to coach? Do you think he's going to coach? I mean, any ideas? We should try and get him on.
Well, maybe get him as the Cascade
Last time we were like, we should get Grant on. Here's Grant. Let's get Harson on. I'd love to get Harson on. I don't know. I'd love to. I think.
Yeah, well, let him.
Sorry,
talk
go
about
ahead.
it. No, Mark.
What do you think? Sorry.
I think because Davis, his son, is at Idaho State.
Yeah,
Idaho
that's
State.
right.
I would imagine he's going to want to kind of watch him and follow him.
Yeah.
And enjoy that. I would imagine he misses football a lot. I don't know to what extent, but
Can I throw out an opportunity here?
Go ahead.
Dirk, 1 year. Hars, 1 year. Grant, 1 year. I mean, just kind of go through.
no, I think that's the problem. I think that's the problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you?
talk about
Yeah.
that.
What do you think about? We talk about that all the time. I mean, essentially 6 coordinators in 5 years,
Seems
and you're going to have
unideal.
7 in 6 years, right? If Dirk doesn't stay, which I hope he stays, because Dirk's the reason I'm most excited about this year. I'm just going to throw it out. But I mean, it could be one and done every year from here until the end of time.
You think you're frustrated with quarterback play? Like I think that's your reason.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest problem. I think we get into the transfer portal talk and stuff, but I think it started with coaching. I think when coaches started making so much money and going from maybe a power or a group of 5 to a Power 5 job, like that was always the aspiration. Unless you love Boise State, you're always going to look for that opportunity. I don't blame them. Like we were talking about $500,000, for basketball. Like why wouldn't you take that? But I think that has translated into the players as well. So, I mean, you look at Hars, like he was here in 2001 to 2010, both as like a GA, tight ends coach, quarterbacks, OC. It's a good chunk of time to develop and like install what you want to get done here. And then after that, it was Brent Pease for a year, but that was 2011. So like the pieces were in place. You still had Kellen.
Yeah. Kellen was the main piece.
You could probably put anyone in that spot and be fine with the team. 2012, Robert Prince. 2013, Robert Prince. I think it was 2 years in a row.
I think so.
Sanford.
And
Sanford
Southwick
1
was
year.
good, right? Like, so Southwick was productive and
Yeah.
had a really good 2012 season. 2013 gets hurt, so that's kind of unfair to him.
That was his senior year he got hurt, right?
Yeah. But good seasons. 2014, Mike Sanford comes in with Hars, so brings kind of back that old school, like what Boise State was. And And then after that, it was another kind of roller coaster. I think Zach Hill was here for 3 or 4 years, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think anyone made it. No one made it 4, but
But in terms of like
Keesaw, Hill,
there's a few. And I think really you see, this is my own opinion, like a Brett Rippon was probably the last quarterback to see like multiple years in a row of consistent quarterback play. Yeah. Whether you like it or not, I think it has a lot to do with the coordinator and the quarterback coach being here for a decent amount of time to develop that.
Developing and just working together and being on the same page.
That's a big piece. And I think there's very, very few guys like a Kellen Moore where it didn't matter who was the coach.
Right.
Like elite level talent where you're going to potentially win a Heisman, play in the NFL. You're not going to get very many of those. Like you see that across the country, like quarterbacks that are supposed to be good, they're struggling. And a lot of that has to do with the continuity with the OC and quarterbacks coach, just the inconsistency of like when you're there, when you're not.
I guess the problem is he went to Kentucky for like $1.5 million.
Yeah.
From 400 here. You would have thought, again, same thing.
Yeah, it's
4
tough.
times, 3 times what he was making here, so you can't blame him. But at the same time, you kind of thought Bush, being a Boise State guy, you kind of had the hope that he.
I get so mad thinking about that stuff. Like I would get mad at players when they would transfer when I was playing. Mm-hmm. Like I would get so mad at that because it's like, we're committed here. Like we're a team. Like this is what we do here. Why would you want to leave this? Like for me, I like even if I never played, I was going to stick it out, like just to be a part of it. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm just different, but when I think of like coaches leaving, you know, like that one, he's an alumni. Why would you leave? Like this is your dream spot. It's supposed to be. But then I think too, okay, let's back up a little bit. Maybe Bush wants to be a head coach one day at a Power 5 school. And how many coordinators at Boise State have went from a coordinator here to a Power 5 head job?
Yeah.
You know, they normally jump to a Power 5 OC or DC job, then to a head coaching position. I don't know.
So you do have a little bit of experience with it, and this isn't to throw it back at you, but you just transferred high schools, right?
I did. Yep.
What was that like?
Yeah, it's a family decision, right? Like the school I was at before was an hour commute.
Oh,
and now
is that
it's,
what it was?
Now it's 25 minutes
Each way?
Yeah.
That's an hour of your day.
And you got your family member
the
there.
day.
Yeah. So I mean, I said, like I hate not being loyal, but everyone has a reason to do it, right? And you got to understand. You got to understand that.
And you
Everyone's
did it for
different.
1.5 million.
Yeah. Close.
Dude, high school coaches, they put in a ton of time. Like practices and workouts and all that stuff, and the amount of money they get
love
is
of the
just
game.
like love of the game.
You have to, right?
Do you want to coach college one day?
No, I don't.
No.
I
Who would with this?
I remember having a couple opportunities to like do the GA spot. I remember Hars called me back after I was done and asked if I was interested. And I just thought to the amount of time they spend recruiting. I mean, it's a year-long thing.
Yeah.
Even
and
if
that
it's
was
on the
back
season.
then.
And that was back then. You're recruiting, you're traveling, you never see your family.
Do you ever talk to Matt Miller about
I
it?
do. A lot.
And he's like, it's a lot.
It's a lot. Yep, it's a lot. I
You
mean,
know, if you have small kids.
yeah, I want to be around my family. I want to be around my kids. I don't care about the money thing right now.
And a guy
Let's
like
figure it out.
that, right? I don't know what he's making. I think he's making close to 200. He's making good living. Don't get me wrong. But the amount of time, I mean, he's got to be one of those that's like, hey, this is really, really tough. But he's doing it now so that he can make 400 and then $1 million. You know what I mean? Like, that's the career ladder, right?
I guess, yeah. For me, I like football, and I get my fix doing the high school thing, and I don't have to worry about all the other stuff.
And
that
you're a
comes with
teacher,
it.
right?
Yeah.
What do you teach?
PE and health. So I'm in the
Sweet.
weight room.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Teaching the team sports, a little badminton this week.
Yeah.
Little pickleball action.
Yeah, coaching some high school football. Like, life is good.
Yeah.
So-
life is good.
So you're doing that now. You've been doing it how many years?
This is my third year.
Third year.
Yep.
Not going to coach college football. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Doing the same thing? Do you want to have a long career coaching high school
Head
football?
coach?
Yep.
Head coach,
I
high
think
school?
so. Yep.
Yeah.
I think so. I think
How many
that's the
more
plan.
years does your dad have?
Man, well, I thought he was going to be done when I graduated high school in 2010. So, and he's still doing it. He's got the personality. He's not going to be able to sit still. He'll go forever. I hope that eventually we can transition and maybe just flop spots and like
He can
I'm
help
gonna
you
I'm gonna
out?
need him around because
Yeah.
he's really good with overseeing things. He'll be around. He's not going to stop coaching. It's not might not have the label as a head coach.
Yeah.
You sounds like you stay in contact with quite a few of your old teammates, right? What, and not to ask you to say something, but what is kind of the general vibe of some of your ex-teammates to the kind of the current team, the current situation, Boise State, what kind of where you guys were at, where it went, where it's going, kind of what's the general vibe with some of your ex-players and and the team.
I think it's been interesting to talk to him about it because it's, we all lived it and we were all there at a really unique time for Boise State football. And so to see it where it is now, like I think we're all optimistic and we want it to get back to where it was. But, at the same time, I know we all realize it's different. Like with all this stuff going on, it's a different deal. But I think we're optimistic, and I don't want to say negative things about it.
Sure.
I think I'm optimistic too. I think there's a lot of really good people that are trying to get this thing going, that a lot of good players, and I think we're all just excited, and hopefully it'll get turned around in the direction. And we're talking about turning it around. Like we just won a conference championship, and like, but the standard's so high. That's the problem.
How cool is it? I mean, back in your, how cool is it that there's a 12-team playoff? I mean, isn't that, that gets us excited. I mean, because that's, your carrot was kind of like the Fiesta Bowl, like a New Year's Six Bowl. And this now is similar, but it's like legit the playoff.
Yeah.
Right? And that was never, you guys were never like, it's probably never a realistic thing.
No,
although there was that one
I mean,
year.
you couldn't lose a game.
Yeah.
I mean,
you couldn't lose one
2
game.
years in a row, pretty much. You had to.
And then I was lucky. Our senior year, the rules changed. They came up with the New Year's Six games, and so it was the top.
That's how you got
group
in,
of
because you had a
5.
couple losses.
We had 2 losses, and we were the top ranked group of 5. And I remember sitting there before some games watching the Marshall score and watching some other like UCF and like, oh, they got beat. Sweet, we got a chance.
Yeah.
But without that rule change, we would have been back in Vegas probably at the Mako Bowl.
Yeah. I have a couple questions, but I know you want to do your.
We're gonna get to 5 questions in a little bit.
What would you like? You see all the landscape changing. What do you want, like for college football? Like, how would you move it if you could make all the decisions and move it around? What would you do?
I would say we got to change the transfer portal rules.
Like, how would you change it?
I would say making it like kind of like Mark said, like you got to sit out a year.
Okay.
Unless, there's got to be some circumstances that are different, right?
Like a coach leaves?
I think a coach leaves. I think that would be a realistic thing. I don't like the transfer portal thing where it's at now. I think the NIL, I like that. Because I think the schools make so much money off of football that the players that are producing that thing should benefit from that.
Question. I don't know if you want it now or later, but follow-up question to that. How do they do that? Because Mark and I were having this discussion today. Part of the argument that people brought up were, take Boise State. I don't know how much revenue is generated from the football team.
I don't know. Yeah.
Let's say 30 million.
Okay.
The idea was, hey, these guys are producing most of that, and then you have the school that produces the platform, that does the negotiation. That's part of the conference, and part of it was, hey, they need to share in the profits of that. But what it's turned into is just additional money raised, like other anonymous donors or FedEx coming in and giving $5 million to Memphis
a year for the next 5 years. They announced today $5 million for NIL only.
For NIL only.
For $5 million for the next 5 years.
Like,
$25 million bucks. Man.
In that case, it's not really sharing the profits generated of the revenue generated by the program. It's just an opportunity to raise more money. And I just wonder, it puts a ton, because really coaches now are just fundraising. Mm-hmm. And like Chip Kelly going to Ohio State saying, I haven't coached in a long time, I just fundraise. Or some of these group of 5 coaches that are saying, I don't coach at all, I recruit and I fundraise all the time just to keep up with NIL. And I just wonder if there's a better way to structure it.
There's got to be. Yeah, I like the NIL. I think players should get paid. I don't know if it's how it is right now. I don't know if that's the best way. I don't like the transfer portal thing. I really don't like the NIL, but I think if we were to keep one, that would be it.
Yeah.
I think Chip Kelly even said it. I think football's got to be its own thing.
Yeah, really.
Because, unfortunately, that and men's basketball are making money for universities, right? But what about the other sports? Are those just going to go away? And I think that's what makes college cool, is when you have all those other sports. I don't know. It's a mess.
College could lose a lot of its attraction because part of it is the pageantry, it's the loyalty, it's the desire. But if it's turning over every year, the pageantry starts to get spread out between a lot of teams and a lot of different places and
there's a basketball player he's going on to his 3rd Mountain West school.
Who's that?
I don't even know.
Collect all of his jerseys.
Yeah, it's it's different. It's different.
Yeah, I don't know. My thing with the NIL is I I didn't anticipate it being like this, and maybe it just brought it from like the darkness into the light of what it was happening with like Cam Newton and all these guys that were just
going on before that. It's just now it's legal, I guess.
Yeah. I still don't want them to have M&Ms.
Yeah. No more cream cheese for the bagels. Take
Yeah,
that
it's
away.
like, take that away.
A little bit of humility, right?
But you know who's the worst at regulating? The NCAA.
Oh, they're the worst.
And so they can't regulate it.
They
It's
can't.
It's stupid.
There's no rule that someone challenges it in court and it gets. I guarantee you, and I know Clay Travis said this 6 months ago. Someone's gonna come with all the NIL stuff, and someone's gonna take the NCAA to court and say, "Why are you not letting me play a 5th year?
Yeah.
Why is it only 4 years?"
Yeah.
And
exactly.
the NCAA, and they'll lose in court. They will. Because every rule they've ever had loses in court. And now,
like, why a limit to eligibility?
I'm still going to school. I'm getting a master's degree. I'm getting a doctorate. I'm getting whatever. Why is it only 4 years?
Yeah.
Why can't I transfer? Other kids can go to school. Like,
Or
it's gonna happen. And then all of a sudden, there's gonna be like guys in college literally for 10 years playing because they're making more money. Like Kellen. I mean, he made. Well, maybe that's not a good example because they coached the NFL.
Tebow.
But there's a lot of guys that are great college players that didn't end up being huge guys in the NFL, yet they would make a ton of money if they stayed in college.
Imagine Kellen right now if he was playing?
Yeah, I mean,
That'd be sweet.
it's just the NCAA is such a freaking joke. They can't enforce anything. We already talked. It's just crazy. Anyways,
Hey, Grant's got a tea time.
Grant's
Yeah, he
got to
does.
play, man.
So we are gonna
This is
move
more
on.
important. I'll be late. It's fine.
We're gonna play 5 questions.
Okay.
Have you seen any of the previous episodes?
I don't think I've seen this, so we might have to.
You haven't seen. Okay, I'm gonna ask you 5 questions. Will they make sense? Who knows?
Okay.
that's
But I put it
that's
together.
one of the questions.
Some may or may not have logical answers,
Okay.
but they've got answers that have
Love
been predetermined. I think 3 of 5 is the highest
that's
we've
the
ever
highest.
So there's a right or wrong
60%.
answer to these?
had. Yeah,
Sadly.
it's just whether or not you agree
Right.
with whether it's.
I like it.
But you seem like a smart guy. I mean,
Grant could. And
I don't want
by
to
the
put pressure on you, but
Okay.
maybe you do better under pressure. I don't know. We're gonna go geography to start it off. Would you say you're from Independence, Oregon? Hometown?
Yeah.
Okay. Independence, Oregon was founded by pioneers that migrated from which
We got a
city
problem.
in Missouri?
Independence.
Independence, Missouri.
Oh, okay.
Whoa,
That's a good one.
okay.
Right off the bat. Right off
not
the bat. Easy
not too
one.
hard, right?
That was a good start.
Yeah.
Good start.
All right.
Who was Travis, like, failed? Travis
He didn't
Hawks
know what
failed,
the
like,
Prime Meridian
Prime
was.
Meridian. It was just like complete fault.
You a Harry Potter fan?
No.
Oh, this is my.
What is the name of Harry Potter's pet owl?
Oh my God.
Come on.
Grant Hedrick. What is the name of Harry Potter's pet owl?
This is actually my favorite. Thank you for asking this one.
I couldn't even guess.
You've never seen it? You've never seen it?
I don't know that.
I mean, I think I have, but it's not like ingrained in
Starts
my...
with an H, just that way. And it rhymes similar to your name, but anyway, he may have lost
He's not
this
gonna
one.
guess.
Owl?
it 'cause
Is this owl?
An owl.
It's a
It's
pet
not
owl.
Hagrid. Hagrid's the character.
No.
of Harry, yeah. I don't know. I'm sorry.
That's incorrect.
Dang it.
Brandon,
Hedwig.
Hedwig.
and we did it because of all the different names people would call you. They call you
Yeah.
Hedrick, Hendrick,
Yeah.
Hendricks,
Hendricks.
Hedwig.
Hedwig.
Yeah. That stuck in my mind.
Bart's cousin.
That's true. I hadn't even thought about that. I hadn't even thought about that.
I get that every once in a while.
You're like, it's
Where
not
was,
even
where was Bart
spelled.
from? Where was he?
He's a California guy. I think.
Ah, okay.
All right, one,
No relation.
1 for 2. True or false? In-N-Out burger is overhyped.
Oh.
True or false?
True or false? You're an Oregon kid,
I am.
And by the way,
False.
he has an answer for this.
Overhyped. False.
so it's not overhyped.
It's hyped. Accurately hyped.
That's incorrect.
Oh.
It's overhyped
It is overhyped?
it is
according-
overhyped. I'm with Matt.
to me.
I like the burgers a lot.
Yeah, no, they're fine.
I like the burgers a lot. The fries aren't
too.
amazing.
I like it.
Fries are
Burgers are
less
great.
than average. Fries are less
And
than
if you
average.
walk in, so have you heard what happened to the Boise one? Or the
It
Meridian
was
one?
crazy, right?
Oh, still crazy, man.
So crazy. But there was 8-hour lines.
That's insane.
8.
I would not wait that long.
Yeah,
No.
wait in your car, watch a whole
But-
Netflix series.
But if you walk in, it's 20 minutes. And they do 9,000 burgers a day.
Holy cow.
It's the #1 producing in and
I
out
heard.
in the entire country. Isn't that wild?
So to our California fan base, sorry.
So Grant's 1 for 3 so far. Grant, you got to
Hey,
finish out.
All right, we got to finish strong
Let's
here.
go. This is like you threw a couple picks.
Yeah,
you
you
can come
got-
back.
Okay, Finley's in right now.
Come on back. Got no one left.
Number 4, Taylor Swift. New album is out today.
Oh,
Hey.
come on, you can do this. Oh no!
Oh,
no.
he's shaking his head.
Come on.
These are terrible
Which of the
questions.
following
This one's pretty cultural based.
which of the following is not a song by Taylor Swift?
Okay.
Oh, come on.
Mad
You can't-
Woman, The Man, or Burn, Burn, Burn?
Does this include her new album? Because I don't know her new album.
No, this doesn't include
Okay.
any. I made sure it didn't include any new songs.
Your
Which of the
child.
following is
Say 'em
not...
again? I'm gonna guess on it.
Yeah,
so.
which is not a song by Taylor Swift? Mad Woman, The Man, or Burn, Burn, Burn?
I'm gonna say The Man.
Oh.
Which one is it? I didn't know this one either.
First one?
Burn, Burn,
Burn, burn, burn.
So wait, why?
That's a
why
Zach
Taylor,
Bryan song.
Why is Taylor Swift one?
Because her new album came out today.
Oh, just because it's.
Yeah,
It's relevant.
That's good.
I think
Yeah.
that's tough.
Gotta pay attention.
That's a tough one. Wait, your child is boy or girl?
What's that?
Your.
He has 2. He has a
Two,
boy
yeah,
and a
to
girl.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. So they haven't. The girl hasn't
Not
had
yet.
Taylor
She's
Swift yet.
2. Yeah, she's 2, and she will.
Would
My
your-
daughter.
Would your wife have known that answer?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you guys
Yeah.
listen to? What
We're
kind of
not
music?
Swifties, like country.
Country?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of everything, but she's not a big Swift fan.
My daughter is Swift all day long.
Yeah.
So if I asked you who sings "I Remember Everything," do you know that song?
I don't know that
Zach
song.
Bryan. Come on, man. That's a
Dude,
big song.
come on.
Okay.
Like,
All right, here we
All
go.
right.
Number 5.
Tough.
Hang in there.
1 for 4.
Oh, dude.
you can do this one.
This is a fun question. It could be kind of tricky, though.
Oh, Matt.
So this is pulled from Broncosports.com where they have all your stats. This is from your junior year.
Okay.
So you were asked to punt a few times,
Yeah.
From
right?
from like the quarter, like it was
Yeah.
4th down and
Yeah.
you punt.
Yeah.
Okay.
You did it 3 times,
Okay.
if you weren't aware. We're off to a good start.
Yeah. I remember. I didn't know it was that many times.
That was like the Kellen punt play.
This
that
is
he
filling
got.
you in on
That was
stats
nice.
you weren't aware of.
Yeah, it's good.
So within 5 yards,
Oh, this is impossible.
what was your average punt distance?
Within 5.
Yeah.
Because they
we go
measure a
within
punt.
10?
They measure a punt from the line of
I'm gonna
scrimmage.
say 31 yards.
28.3. He
Oh,
got it.
hey, there you
Because
go.
you only punt. That was really only called if you're like inside the like 40 or 45
Like do
yard
a little
line.
pooch punt.
Yeah, let's like pin him back.
Hey, by the
Fourth
way,
down
all
option.
3 punts
Wow,
were
that-
down inside the 20-yard line.
Nice.
One of your more
Take that,
impressive.
James
That's
Ferguson
pretty good
Reynolds.
stat.
One of your more
28
impressive
yard
ones.
punts. Man, Taylor Swift.
I thought the
good.
Taylor Swift
In and
one was out of bounds. I'm just gonna be
In and out. I
honest,
should have went with what I should have answered, which is what everybody's gonna say.
Well, you don't-
I should have just got that one right, but that's my opinion.
But you
I
didn't
liked
know.
it.
Oh.
When you're playing golf later, don't
Yeah.
let it get to you.
It's gonna wreck my golf game actually more than it already will be.
But you know, in your defense, you didn't know because like Idaho had like this massive in and out blow up.
Yeah, it was
you know what I
crazy.
mean. And so obviously,
Do
it's
they have
overhyped.
in and out in Oregon?
They do.
Okay.
Yeah, couple of them.
in Portland or
One in Portland, one in Salem.
And you're not too far from Salem.
Yeah,
Salem's
you're
a cool town.
15 minutes.
15
I actually like Salem.
Yeah, I'm like 20 minutes from Corvallis, just outside of Salem. So
Nice.
That's interesting. Well, we're gonna bring everybody back and have like a
Tournament of Champions.
tournament of champions. So you got a chance
okay,
to come back
Redemption.
and let that fester for a bit.
good.
Apparently, we just let people come and go as they please. Brandon walked out. Mark
Sorry,
stepped out.
Mark
I-
had a bathroom break.
Yeah, that was
2 for 5 is where Grant ended.
not bad. I could hear it from over there.
So we would call you Grant Hedwig.
Okay, I didn't know that. I haven't heard
Nothing
that one.
against that.
I probably yeah.
Hedwig.
Try to block a lot of that out. Some death threats after Air Force. I just didn't.
No way. No way.
I mean, probably.
You guys didn't have social
blame
media at the time. Or
Luckily. I remember sitting in the parking lot though, and listening to some radio, like talk radio. Not sure why I was doing that.
Yeah.
Bad idea.
Terrible idea.
Bad idea.
Callers calling in. Oh man,
Caves and
toughened
Prater.
me up a little bit. Yeah, toughened me up a little bit.
Yeah. Caves and Predator was a good time.
Such a fascinating dichotomy. You have people our age and older commenting and criticizing 19, 20-year-old kids. Just seems silly.
And we base our happiness on how well
Yeah,
they
that's
perform
not
in
healthy.
sports.
I know,
what it's all
unhealthy.
about.
The only time that I would say my fandom was super unhealthy was that Nevada game where I went into a depression the entire Thanksgiving weekend, into the next week. Just
That was brutal.
it was so brutal,
brutal.
because we were so good, and it was like we hadn't lost in forever, and we were ranked third, and someone lost. Like We potentially could have gone
I
to
think
the
the
Rose
number 2
Bowl.
team lost that day too. Whoever
Maybe-
that was.
yeah,
Like, there was something lining up.
It was lining up at a minimum for a Rose Bowl, and that was so
Well, what
like
was
I
odd,
couldn't
too-
sleep, and I was just a freaking fan, dude. I was a grad student, and I would just couldn't.
But wasn't
That
it
was so
20,
bad.
24-8 or 24-7? Wasn't that the score when
We were up.
Yeah, we were winning by
Yeah.
a decent clip going into the third quarter, I thought.
Yeah, it was. We had a lead. I don't
And
know.
then that was brutal.
That was brutal. This is a question I've had. The low of that. What was more extreme? The low of that loss or the high of the first Fiesta Bowl?
What do you mean? Oh,
That's
is
a
it
good
is it
question.
general
Like was
fan?
the high? Yeah, because that first Fiesta Bowl was the high of heights.
there
But
was-
that loss was the low of lows
the girl?
too, man.
So I was sitting. So we were there
At the
and-
Fiesta Bowl.
at the first Fiesta Bowl,
Yeah.
and we went to the first two. And the girl I was sitting next to, who was a friend, during the hook and lateral, she started crying.
Because she thought we lost.
like
No,
she
'cause
was
she
so
was
like
so-
happy.
it was
Oh,
like-
like
emotionally.
after.
That's awesome.
It was so wild because it was like all game. It was like high, low, and your emotions were just torched. I mean, there was nothing left.
Couldn't handle it anymore.
Did you console
It
her?
like crescendoed. It totally crescendoed at that moment. And she was crying, and we were all, excited and everything. And I'll never forget that moment looking over, and she was like, just, I mean, that's sports, right?
Yeah.
It's the beauty of it.
It is the beauty of it. We should have talked when Travis Hawks was on. I wasn't at the first Fiesta Bowl. A lot of my family was. My parents were sitting next to Bill Hawks, Travis's dad,
Yeah.
who owned Blue and Orange Store first.
Right.
Pro
right?
image.
And my dad said during that game, like towards the end of it, Bill Hawks was like laying down, like he was like
Yeah.
almost having like a heart attack.
I can see
because of the and he's an older guy too.
Yeah.
And his business, Blue and Orange Store, the implications
That's true.
of that
That's
game,
true.
were so
Well,
financially huge.
What was funny too is like on the stadium, on the board, they kept playing a pre-recorded message from the coaches on whoever's winning. It's like, let's be responsible fans during commercial timeout. So it was Stoops and then Pete and then Stoops
Back and forth.
and then Pete and then it was Pete and then it was just like they
That's
kept
so
saying
funny.
that, and it was like this dueling responsibility thing. And then at the end of the game, they brought in the horses and the dogs.
Horses.
And
the
they,
What do you mean?
the police officers
Oh,
to
yeah.
like circle
Okay.
so nobody would. Anyway,
Oh, weird. I know we got to wrap up here.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Last thing, since we got Grant here, I don't think Grant. If we would have told you 2014, you just win the Fiesta Bowl, that 10 years from now you're going to be sitting talking to some yahoos in a podcast talking about how Boise State has not been back to a New Year's Six type game, would you have believed it at that time?
I don't think so.
Because we were on, yeah.
I think things are going pretty well, and I think with the New Year's Six games and like being the highest ranked Power Five, I thought we'd have a good chance.
Yeah.
a couple times get back
lots
to it.
changed in 10 years.
Yeah, it's crazy. The city's changed in 10 years.
Yeah, a
a
lot.
lot of traffic.
Yeah.
What happened?
So 100,000 people have been added since 2020 in the Valley. I just read that.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's a lot of people, man. That's a lot of people.
There's your traffic question.
There's
we
your
go.
traffic thing.
There we go.
Anyway,
Cool.
Grant, thanks, man.
No, thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
You've been
That was
awesome.
fun. Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us. Grant Hedrick, awesome guest.
Legend,
The
living
legend.
legend. You may not recognize him on the street,
It's the way I like it.
but
But
stop him, get a
he
picture.
was responsible. The last Fiesta Bowl, the most recent Fiesta Bowl.
It was.
Honestly, dude, that was an awesome season. That was probably the best, most recent season that I can remember.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
that was an awesome season.
Yep.
So good.
You brought a
good
lot
for
of
you.
people a lot of joy.
Yeah, that was
Grant,
good work, Grant.
we
Thank you,
wish you the best in your future with your small family you got right now.
Yep.
Hope the football season goes well this next school year. Thanks for spending time with us.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
2 weeks. 2
What
weeks,
was
right?
that?
What do we got?
There we go. All right.
Keep it rolling. All right,
We're
yeah,
out.
we'll catch you next time.